Hey guys, EDDBUD here, and it's the moment you've all been waiting for, my initial review of the PUMA Deviate Nitro. So my initial thoughts today on the PUMA Deviate Nitro, a shoe with some real innovation. Some bits from here, some bits from there. How does this PUMA effort hold up against the opposition? So I've got to state very, very clearly, first of all, this is a shoe that I have been sent by PUMA. No one's going to be vetting my views, no one's paying me to make this video as well. These are my honest and transparent opinions, as per usual. Okay, glad we got that out of the way. As you can see, I've actually run in the shoe. There's some muck and grime on it. I've seen a few reviews of this and it just didn't really appear that they'd even run in the shoes. Probably just put them on and wandered around the cul-de-sac with them or something. I mean, what's the point of doing a review like that? I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. It's like they want to hold the shoe up in front of a camera first, and that's just a pointless exercise. It means nothing to people that actually want to buy the shoe or are interested in how the shoe performed. So this one weighs in just over 300 grams in my UK size 11, which is 10.6 ounces. Though, when I got them a little bit wet on the second run today, they picked up a little bit of weight. They're about 312 grams now, which is around 11 ounces. Which incidentally is the weight of the New Balance 1080 V11 in my UK size 11.5. That says a lot. UK price will be £136 when they do launch in March. PUMA have stated that these fit a half size bigger. I'm not entirely sure about that, and I'll talk about that a bit later. We'll start with the upper first. Upper-wise, fit and feel were initially very, very good. PUMA appear to have taken a little bit of time and vetted the competition in terms of upper, and there's certainly hints of the original version of the Vaporfly here, the Zoomfly, perhaps even the Saucony Endorphin Speed, but certainly in terms of the appearance of the shoe, it is similar to the Pegasus Turbo 2, but it doesn't fit like the Pegasus Turbo 2. It's totally different. An appropriate amount of upper material here with some reasonable laces for a change. Lockdown was relatively easy to achieve, but it's all down to sock type for me. A mesh type upper doesn't give an awful lot. I got 12 miles into the shoe so far and I haven't felt that the upper's really given anywhere at all. It's remained relatively consistent. There's a few reflective sections on the shoe that PUMA are very, very keen to tell you about. Could be useful if you're wearing the shoes in very early morning runs or those sort of late night nocturnal efforts. I think the upper's actually made of some stuff that PUMA use within some of their athletic clothing as well. I haven't felt it too warm or too cold, it's just been perfect really, in some slightly cooler conditions here in the UK. Now this shoe worked out really well while I was doing some mile repeats in the first run, which was around about 5 miles, which is about 8 kilometers. So I did a couple of miles at my target half marathon pace. I didn't really have any major problems with the upper. On the second run, I did some intervals, so 10 by 400 meters, and I got some really bad rubbing actually at the back of my left foot, just here. There's some padding that goes around the ankle, but it's not right at the very back of the shoe. It was just here I got some really bad rubbing. Only on one foot, but enough to cause me some discomfort. Now, I think it's down a little bit to the sizing of the shoe, but also the fact that the shoe is very, very rigid. You need to get a very good lockdown to get the best out of it. I don't think the Kalenji socks that I was wearing today really gave me that. In the stance socks on the first run, I had a much better lockdown, so it's going to be down to socks. My right foot's a little bit longer, so it was the left foot that's not quite as long, and as such, I'm in a little bit of a quandary there because the right shoe fits perfectly, and it was just the left one. I couldn't really get it locked down any tighter either, so you're going to have to take that into account. I couldn't have gone down a half size in this shoe, it would have been far too short, so I'm going to have to try and find a solution for that. What that is though, I don't know. Aside from that, I'm liking everything else on the upper. Very, very refreshing in fact, like a cool glass of beer after a long, long day. But big issue there in terms of lockdown, so I'm going to give this a 2.3 out of 3 after my initial runs for upper. Midsole now. There's lots to talk about in the midsole of the Deviate Nitro from PUMA. So they've equipped it with a carbon plate. It says it's a composite design, so don't know what that means. I do know though that the plate in the shoe is one of these forked type things, so similar to something that you might see in the Carbon X2 or the Meta Racer from Asics. We've got super critical stuff in the midsole here. which is actually pretty insane, I have to say. Puma reckon that the foam in the shoes got an 80% energy return, and I've got to say, it is quite ridiculous. It's not like any other shoe that I've worn. Maybe close to the Endorphin Speed, but there's much more return here. I guess it's what I thought DNA Flash midsole foam would be like from Brooks. Lovely bounce, a little bit unstable perhaps in the heel, but I don't think many people are going to want to spend an awful lot of time there. It's going to be all about the midfoot and the forefoot. Puma sent me over some really awesome stats actually, which I dug into after a very nice can of Guinness. Stats are always better with some Guinness. They reckon that there's a big lift in durability, or at least sustained energy return with this foam. I did a few calculations and I reckon they mean after around about 350 miles, the energy return still stays pretty high in comparison to some of their other foams. The only way I can describe the midsole cushion here is like placing your foot on top of one of those rubberized Adidas footballs from the late 80s, early 90s. If you really inflated those and kicked them around in the tennis courts at school, you know, you could really belt the ball really hard and it felt there was this incredible sort of return. Your foot would spring back from it, and that's exactly what this shoe feels like. Kind of like a heavily inflated beach ball each time you hit your foot down on the floor. Extremely bouncy, almost urging you to increase your cadence. I've got to say, it's a very fun and quite exciting ride. I had a really fun time doing those intervals today. I must have looked like a complete maniac. I had AC/DC again. Angus was entering into a guitar solo just as one of the intervals started, and I think I got down to a mile pace of 6:05 on one of the intervals while listening to that stuff. So yeah, this shoe is exciting, certainly. I will state again, some people are going to find this unstable. I don't think that this is a shoe you really want to wear for slower paces. It felt okay on the recovery sections, but it was more a test today just to see how it would hold up. I think I prefer something a little less wild, I think, on the recovery parts. But on those 400s, it was really fun. And it felt really good on those half marathon target paced miles on the first run too. I think this harder piece here, back in the heel, does provide a bit of stability, but I guess in that way it's a little bit like the Fuel Cell TC. If I was going to describe the underfoot feel, I'd suggest it's a little bit like the Endorphin Speed, perhaps not quite as dense as the Speed's midsole. Certainly with a little less stability, similar to the Fuel Cell TC. Perhaps with a slightly more fitting upper, although I never had any fit issues with the TC itself. Certainly the midsole's less dense, almost a rubberized feel, I suppose. It's not really like a squashy foam, it just really feels like it returns back to its original state very quickly. Less packing foam and more high bouncing ball. I'd say well done Puma for creating something actually very new. I've certainly enjoyed my ride on top of the nitro material so far, but I think I need a few more miles to harness all of its facets. I'm going to give this a 2.7 out of 3 for the midsole after my initial runs. I think stability over longer distances would be my main concern. Outsole time. Rejoice, for the rubber returns. With only limited amounts of exposed midsole here. The rubber's only in the places that matter, and that's a good thing. The Puma Grip rubber does just that. Grips like beasts, extended trouser tearing claws. The trading estate trembled as the traction talons tore into the tarmac. Seems to work on a variety of different surfaces as well. There's only limited areas for debris collection, and I'm left quite impressed by the outsole of this feline footwear. It's got that kind of real slick, kind of grippy rubber style. Quite different, and the protrusions are reasonably deep. Don't want them too deep on a faster shoe. Certainly a better outsole than the Endorphin Speed, I've got to say. It's better than Zoomfly 3, it's better than the Fuel Cell TC outsole as well. But only time will tell if it's as durable as those resilient rubber offerings from Adidas. Or the likes of the Hyperion Tempo outsole as well, because that was like magic. I'm going to give this a 2.8 out of 3 though for outsole after my initial runs. Value now. So I have to say I've been sent this shoe by Puma, but they're not paying me to make the video. In terms of value, £136. It's not bad. There's some response there. Great, grippy, faster paced shoe. Carbon plate equipped with a pretty decent upper. Decent laces at last as well. But perhaps a tad too heavy for out-and-out racing. I see this as a main competitor for the Zoomfly 3 or the Endorphin Speed, perhaps even as a competitor to the Tempo Next Percent as well. A good alternative maybe for those that dislike those AirPods. One thing I really do like is the quality of the finish of the shoe. There's no stray glue marks, everything's been put together very well. I think Puma have got a pretty good shoe on their hands here. It's not quite perfect, there are a few things I'd change about it, but it's certainly a good start. I'll take it out for some more faster paced runs and update you in the near future. But in terms of its price and what it has to offer for that price, I'm going to give this a 2.7 out of 3 after my initial runs for value. Lots of high quality features here at a much lower price than its competitors. It's firmly in that tempo sort of zone for me, or above. Some people might enjoy the bounce at lower paces, but I think I probably err for more stability and cushion. Is this shoe something that you're looking to pick up when it releases in March? Let me know down in the comments. Musical interlude time. Some of you may have missed the album from Stephen Maltmus, released in 2020, entitled Traditional Techniques. It's taken me 20 times to say that. I really love this album, but every time I listen to it, it makes me kind of sad, so be careful. The Greatest Own in legal history is really beautiful. There's just some really nice acoustic guitar playing on this album. Really has some feeling there, some atmosphere. There's sadly lacking in loads of other music at this moment. It's just not there. Stephen Maltmus always has it. It's not all sad, I suppose. Cash Up's a real nice tune with its sort of slide acoustic guitar. That like lifts you up a little bit. I think my personal favourite on the album is What Kind of Person. Stephen Maltmus always has the best lyrics. It just always make you think. There's like little stories in there. He seems to put himself into other people's shoes, and I really like that. There's a real folky sort of vibe about the album. Almost like some of the songs sound a little like sea shanties, I suppose. There's a real big sort of wide sound, some real nice use of reverb on the guitar. Really is worth checking out. Traditional Techniques by Stephen Maltmus. Did make me laugh. Beast is asleep down here protecting a load of shoes. She knows. She knows. Danke schön for watching through to the very end of the video. I do appreciate it, guys. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and also click the bell below for notifications when we launch those new videos. And it really does help the channel out if you give this video a thumbs up like and share this video with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD and I'll be seeing you. What are you still doing here? It's finished. The video's over. There's nothing else to talk about. Well, there's a lot of new shoes coming in. Keep an eye out for the New Balance 1080 V11 coming very soon. The Takumi Sen 7 as well. And there's one more, which is the